This conference will now be recorded.
Yes, good morning. Yes, last class what we topic we talk about the equals and hash code, right? In that example bit important because hash code duplicate data hash has set classes, right? Has set class. Generally duplicate objects are allowing duplicate data is allowing. We need to override which methods equals and hash code methods. Equals method is checking the previous data, hash code method to return the hash code, right? But today class one small regarding Lombok, two annotations I will discuss at the rate required argument constructor at the rate non-null. At the rate what non-null. Yes, to do this, let me use the previous project only. This is my previous project, right? So no, this is my previous project. So in the previous project, guys, let me create one more class. Yes, one class I take in the book, one class I take in the employee, one class I take in the test, right? Today is the fourth class about the Lombok. Fourth class about what Lombok. Yes, let me take the new class. Can you please take the product class? The class name guys, product class. Click on the finish button, guys. Product class just I'm taking. Yes, product class observe. I need two variables, but during object creation, mandatory we have to assign the two values. What are the two values? Tell me, guys. Private int product ID. Yes, product ID. Next one is what private string product name, pro name. Last one is what private what double product what salary, right? Product what salary. Like this, guys. But these two properties should be mandatory assigned. That's what, guys, I taken this is which properties? Final properties. Private final properties. Guys, private what final properties. Just let me take the final. Just let me take the final. You know that it is not possible to make the default values as a final constants. In Java, string default value is what null. If it is a final means what entire project null, right? It's good or not good, not good. I want to generate the constructor only for these two fields. Then while creation of object of this class, you should pass the two fields mandatory, right? Then I need to create the object of these two fields, three fields, two fields. Which fields? Mandatory field. In real time, the final fields are mandatory fields. Mandatory we need to initialize. If we didn't initialize, double default value is how much? 0, 0.0. Then entire project 0.0, right? Because it is a final. Generally, final variable means can be modified or cannot be modified. Cannot be modified. If you didn't initialize the data, if we are not initialize the data, which values are their default values? Throughout the application, default values, right? That is good or not good, Amma? Not good. That's what you should initialize these two values with your data. Okay. For these two arguments, for these two values, I need to generate a constructor, that is called required argument constructor. What constructor gets required argument. See guys, now in the outline you can see outline the constructor is generated how many arguments, two arguments. It is generated product idea? No. I think you got the clarity about required argument construct, right? It means while creation of product object, you mandatory should pass this through two values. Why? Because these are final variables. Final variables means what? During object creation, you initialize that value is enter project fixed. During object creation, if you didn't initialize, then default values are taken or not taken, not taken. Error message. I think you got the clarity, right? What the purpose of required argument constructor, you want to generate the constructor with the mandatory values. You want to generate the constructor with what? Mandatory values, optional values, mandatory values. To generate the constructor with mandatory values, you required what, required argument constructor. Right, then constructor generated how many arguments, two arguments. I think you got the clarity, right? Exactly. Guys, let me right click new. I want to take the class. This is like product client. Product what, client. Click on the main method. Click on the finish. Yes, yes or no? Guys, here let me generate required argument constructor and at the rate what, two string method also. What method, guys? Two string method, right? Yes. It's required argument constructor means the purpose is what, it will create the constructor only for the mandatory fields. What is the meaning of mandatory fields? Final fields. Because final fields mandatory we have to initialize. Got the clarity, right? Yes. Guys, then create the object of product class. You can take the product equal to what new product. Mandatory fields are what product name. Product name is what? Tell me guys for the product name. Sugar. Sugar cost is what 38 rupees. 38.45 rupees, right? Exactly. Guys, this is our control space what product. Any problem is there? No. Guys, run this code, Java application, you will get the output. Why it's saying product salary? Guys, product name, let me take the string store name. Otherwise, product name and the next one is what company name, right? Company name I can take better. So product name is what sugar. Company is what uh, sugar from which company? Sugar cane company. Got the point, right? Then run this project. You got the sugar and from the sugar cane company, right? Yes or no? Yes. Guys, let me create one more product. But this product is what I'm creating the. This is a product one, printing the product one, right? Next one is what this is a product two. Just you can print what product two. Guys, I'm creating the product with null values. I'm creating product with what null values. When you create the product with null values, if you run this code, you will get the null and null. You given the product value is null. Mandatory we have to initialize. Required argument constructor means what? The constructor is generated only for the required field. But what you given required fields are null. That is good or not good again? Not good, right? A required field means constructor is generated with required fields. Required fields means during object creation you should pass the data, you should pass the null values data. But unfortunately, Anuradhaka is checking with null. Accepting, not accepting, accepting. But null is good or not good for health? Not good for application health, right? That's what these are the mandatory field we have to assign, and you don't assign null also. At the rate, you can write a non-null. Non-null. Okay, these all are from the Lombok. Two string required argument constructor, non-null like this. At the rate what non-null. So during object creation, mandatory we have to pass this name and company. Mandatory we need to pass what? Name and company for the required argument constructor. Mandatory. And while passing, you don't pass null also. You don't pass what null. Meaningful, right? Mandatory, you have to pass the null. But some people will pass a null. Mandatory, we have to pass the data. But some people will pass what null. But you want null, that null value, or don't want null value? Don't want. That's what you can make the at the rate what non-null, right? Then you can come here. If you run this code, you will get error message. What error message, guys? Product name is marked as non-null, but it is null. Getting it right? I think you got the clarity, right? How many annotations you got the clarity? Two. What are two annotations? Tell me. One is the at the rate required. Tell me here. One is at the rate what? Required. Second one is what? At the rate. What the at the rate required? Required కాదనుకుంటది required. There is a required argument constructor. Required constructor. What is the meaning of required argument constructor? It will generate the constructor only for the mandatory field. What's the meaning of mandatory field? The field which has the final data, right? Guys, it will create the constructor to what? Mandatory field, right? What's the meaning of mandatory field? Uh, the field contains what the data, guys? Final data. Construct with mandatory field, final field, right? And while creation of object, you need to pass the mandatory these two values. But some people will pass which values null. Accepting, not accepting. Generally accepting, but acceptance is good or not good? Not good. That's what you make the annotation is what? Not null. I think you got the clarity about this point also, right? Yes, exactly. Guys, this is bit important. Are you clear now? That is a data, guys. That is a Lombok. Total how many classes you got Lombok? Four classes. Like class by class you'll get the clarity, guys. If I'm mixing everything in a single class, you may not understand. First class we talk about the setters and the getters. Second class you talk about the constructor and the toString. Third class we are talking about equals and hash code. At the rate equals an hash code. Fourth class we are talking about at the rate required argument, required argue constructor and non-null. Required argument constructor means the constructor is generated only for the required fields, mandatory fields. What do you mandatory field means? Final field. Final fields mandatory we need to initialize. Final fields mandatory we need to initialize. Are you clear now? That is the data, guys. It's very important discussion. Hmm? Then if we got the not null, first case object is okay, this object is okay, but second object is okay or not okay na? Not okay. Generally without non null you will accept it, but with non null means what? Accept the error. Error. What is that error? As per the annotation. As per the annotation, which is non null, but you are giving what null, right? Exactly. Are you clear? That's the point, guys. Tell me, guys. Up to now we complete how many annotations? Tell me. First class we completed the two annotations. What are the two annotations? At the rate setters, at the rate getters. To generate setters and getters. Second class we talk about at the rate all args constructor. Second one is what two string, right? At the rate two string method. And we taken one more thing also. While setting the data using constructor, we require the zero argument constructor, right? Zero argument constructor means at the rate no args constructor. This is second class what we talk. Third class we talk about only one annotation at the rate equals and only one annotation we are talking about equals and hash code, right? Equals and hash code. Only one annotation we are talking. Third class. Fourth class, today class. What we are talking fourth class, ma? At the rate required args, required arg constructor we are talking. Okay, required argument constructor. Next one we are talking about at the rate non-null. I think you all feel like a bit important, right? Yes. This is the first class, this is second class, this is third class, this is what fourth class. I'll take one more class about the Lombok. 5 classes is good, right? Is that no? Clear? Yeah. I guess maybe next class will continue.